Okay, so when you want to go and start a vegetable garden, the first thing you need to do is just pick out what you want to grow. There's no sense in going through the process of trying to figure out when's the best time to plant spinach if you don't like to eat spinach. So just start a laundry list of what vegetables you want to grow, and then we work backwards, because there are some vegetables that are cool season vegetables and just don't like the heat of the summer. And that would be like spinach, lettuce. Those are plants that we're planting now. And other times there are stuff like tomatoes that are very popular plant, but it is way too cold outside for tomatoes. So you would start those a little bit later, or just go right to finished plants. And so it's just that. Start with a laundry list, daydream, make a list of what items you want to go through, and then you start picking out the varieties that you want. And let me show you what you could expect when you start looking at some of the tags. So here we've got beets, bok choy, and a bush bean. Now there are certain plants like beans that will grow and need a trellis, and so they need something to support themselves on. But then there's other ones that are varieties that are more compact and don't need as much support, and they'll be labeled as a bush. But so you just kind of go through the line and figure out which plants you want to grow. Then you go and start reading the tags. And so right here it says frost tolerant and only 45 days. When you see these numbers that say 45 days or 65 to 70 days, that's days to harvest from sowing or from when you plant the seeds. So how many crops you're going to get? Like radishes are like 35 days. Tomatoes or pumpkins, maybe 120. So you go through each one, and once you figure it out, you make your list, you pick out the varieties you want, and then you read the tags, how many days of harvest. Now some plants are tolerant and you can grow them all season long. Others, like I said, are typically either early spring or fall. So you can see right here, a lot of the good seed companies will give you cheat sheets right on the back. This one is going to take, once I plant it, it's going to take 6 to 12 days to germinate and start sprouting. And then you want to space out your seeds. So a lot of people, when they're doing is you don't want to waste your seed. So right here it says plant one seed for 4 inches. So then you'd go and just start going down your line and plant them every 4 inches. And then maturity was 55 days. So that means that you're going to start to harvest this plant in 55 days. So the next question is, if you're going to start it inside, or do you direct sow, what we call planting it right in the ground by seed right out in the garden, or do you need to start it indoors in the seed pack? So every seed pack will typically say when to sow outdoors, and this one is recommended to do outdoors. There's no reason to start it indoors because it grows pretty fast, it's a short harvest, and then they're actually saying 1 to 2 weeks after your average last frost date, or when the soil is at least 65 degrees and ideally 70 to 85. So this plant clearly likes it warm. Whereas this one here, the bok choy, says right on it, sow in early spring or late summer. So when you're going through and you're trying to figure it out, again, it's got all the same cheat sheets on here. And again, this one is the same. It's saying 1 to 2 weeks if you're going to do it outside after the first serve, but it only needs it to be 60 degrees out. So it also tells you when to start inside. And it says right here, not recommended due to quick maturity. So every seed is different, and it'll give you all the information you need right on the back. So that's the basics. So there's more to it as far as picking. When you're picking your seeds, there's lots of ways. I'll shoot separate videos on seed trays and how to physically go about doing it. But when you're planning out your garden, just make your selections, figure out what you want to grow. Then just read the labels on each pack of seeds. It's going to tell you everything you need to know. If it's recommended to start inside, it's going to tell you. Start it inside 3 weeks before your average frost date. And then if it's going through and tells you, no, plant it right outside, it's going to turn around and tell you just that. This is not recommended for a plant to start indoors, and that's typically for plants that just either just don't handle transplanting very well, or they're just quick to mature, and so it's not really feasible to grow indoors and plant outdoors. And that's it. There's not a lot to it. Don't get nervous by it. Just pick out your selections, make your list, do your homework, everything else will fall into place. And seeds are cheap. If you mess it up, that's how we learn. Good luck.